constantly get asked, how did you name the company, Tony? So people who live in Latitude Margaritaville, like Lilliputians, as I call them from Oz, they're always happy. They often say that they love that I named the company after a Jimmy Buffett song. And that's true. There is a song. I did know of it, and I liked it, but they're only partially correct. Although there is a connection, it is not the one that they think that actually spurred the name of the company. My company is called Son of a Sailor. We do not have a second son here. Let's do a little history and put this history mystery to bed. As the story is told, Captain James Delaney Buffett and his ship, the Chickamauga, were in Havana Harbor. This was in 1920, and the ship was a 5-masted barkentine. And at that point, Captain James Delaney Buffett, the Jimmy Buffett we know, his grandfather, was celebrating his son's first birthday. That son was also on the boat and aboard the ship. So in honor of the first birthday, with great glee, Captain James Delaney Buffett raised all the signal flags on the ship to announce the birthday to all the other ships in the harbor. Now think about this. When you come into Latitude Margaritaville, what are the first thing you see are all those signal flags up there. So that's part of the Buffett history. Now, of course, all the other captains saw what he was doing, recognized that it was a celebration, and they then followed suit and put up their own signal flags till every ship was in full signal flag regalia in that Havana harbor. And that's the story and that's the myth. Now, Jimmy's dad, also Jimmy, did not become a sailing captain like his grandfather. So thus, Jimmy had to name the song title not the son of a captain and the son and the sailor twice. No, it's just the son of a sailor. And that this is true to the history of their family. Now, young Jimmy, he was indeed enamored of the sea from the time he was 3 feet tall. With his first large paycheck, he purchased his first yacht, the Euphoria, and with I think the second album success, he purchased another yacht, the Euphoria 2. And they say that it is on this boat that he wrote most of the Son of a Sailor album. The album became the highest charting album of the night. Jimmy performed the title song on Saturday Night Live in 1978. It was Jimmy's only appearance, as far as I know, on that show, and I remember it. Jimmy did later on in the 1990s and 2000 write 2 tribute songs to his dad. False Echoes and 15 Cuban Minutes both reflect upon that first birthday in Havana Harbor. So now that you know the Jimmy Buffett history, you might wonder what this has to do with me. I guess it involves that same desire to pay tribute to a man who lived an interesting life and had the wonder of the sea in him from when he was 3 feet tall. My dad was a sailor in World War II. But that's more the end of the story. Let me start at the beginning. My dad was born in Coney Island, and at those times, and he was born in the 1920s, it had wonderful beaches. Dad was always by the sea and always by the boardwalk. His stories were the stuff of myth in our families, and certainly to me as a wide-eyed young boy. He would tell me that whitings, fish, were so abundant when he was young that all he had to do was go down to the shore, walk into the ocean with a basket, and swipe it under the water, and he would come up with a full basket of whitings. And man, did we love whitings. That was his favorite fish. I love it also. Later, he would take me to that same boardwalk he grew up on, and we would go to Steeplechase Amusement Park and ride the rides together. And along the way, we'd always stop for fresh clams, a hot dog, and chow mein on a bun. These were staples at Nathan's on the boardwalk. I can still vividly remember the sights and sounds of the beach and the boardwalk. But let me get back to before I was born, and Dad served in the U.S. Navy. He loved his time in the service. He was on ships. He flew what he called in the most beautiful Navy plane ever made, the Catalina, a seaplane that could land and take off on the water. He served as both a radio man and a gunner on that plane in the South Pacific, and although he would never tell us the stories of the fighting, he would always regale us in stories of how the U.S. Navy and his plane in particular would always help the inhabitants of the islands that his seaplane scouted. He also served for a time on blimps, or zeppelins, which he called them, which were used as submarine spotters in the Pacific off the coast of the California shore. And he had great stories about about the blimps also, which is a totally different way to fly. Now, he stayed in touch, his dad, VP-91, with his fellow Navy men till the day he died. So now you know, this company, Son of a Sailor, is a tribute to my dad. I am the son of a sailor, but the star of the company is the sailor himself. The great part of all this is that I get to think of my dad every day in this business adventure. That I want you to take a look to the side. You're going to see an outline of what is Coney Island behind me. I took this picture one morning walking on the Franklin Delano Boardwalk in Staten Island, which I used to do in the morning. That is the sun coming up. Behind Coney Island is in the background, and if you can see the parachute jump. And that little parachute jump is Coney Island, and I would see it every day. I call this photo looking east because as you look east beyond that, next thing you're going to hit is Europe, and it makes me think of the land where my heritage came from, where both sides of my family came across the Atlantic. So that being said, now you know a little bit of my history. Thanks for listening.